No, I need to tell y'all. I'm not doing that.
Super.
We'll get ousted out of YouTube first time.
Let me drop my phone.
All right, y'all ready?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Here we go.
Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast with your host, Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks, Matt with Wacky Works Workshop, Jen with Jen's Turns, Jamie with JP Woodwork, and Jake with Northside Custom Crafts. Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast, episode 39 with Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks. I forgot to say that.
Oh, man, I thought everything locked down.
You thought my internet died?
I just instantly got sweat, man. I thought it was dead. I thought we were dead in the water.
Silver.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Today we have Bear Pas Woodshop, Mr. Matt.
Here we go.
Hello.
How you doing, bud?
Doing good.
So we usually start the show off and just give us a little background on how you got started with your craft.
So growing up, Daddy there was always sawdust in the house because he worked road construction. So when weather was bad, he was always adding on to the house doing something. I guess that kind of just carried along. A few years back, I had a shop built and started working more for woodworking. You know, I wanted a space of my own, so it's kind of evolved from there. I've got into a little bit of everything. Started off woodworking, got a CNC. We were already doing some epoxy stuff, me and my wife, and then it's kind of grown from there. Doing some wood turning some pins now, doing some 3D printing, and hopefully before long making some silicone molds. So.
You do a little bit of that CNC action too, don't you?
Oh yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, Mathew. It's weird calling you Mathew because I just call you Pauls. So for people at home, my name is Jake Thompson from Northside Custom Crafts, and I usually do an icebreaker. My icebreaker for you, Pauls, is how's the weather in your parts of the woods?
Depends on the day and the time of the day. it can be 70 or it can be 19, and most generally windy. Very, very windy.
I say that because we're both from Amarillo, Texas, and we just found out before the show started that we went to the same high school and graduated the same year and don't know each other.
You know, it's a small world, like how me and Jake met. I had met Joey first on Instagram, and we started talking, and I said, man, you know, it'd be neat if I could ever meet a maker that was close. And he said, you live in Amarillo, don't you? And then so I had to meet a guy on the internet from down South Texas to meet a guy that lives, you know, across town.
You could throw snowballs at him during winter.
Yeah, there you go.
The wind will take him away. He won't hit me.
Yeah.
True.
Well, hello, everybody in the audio world. I'm Matt with Wacky Works. Matt, you say you got a CNC. What kind of CNC do you have, and what kind of software do you use to run that thing?
So I've got a Shapeco XXL. And for the most part, I use their Carbide Create. I've tried to learn Fusion a couple of times, but it didn't stick.
Mm-hmm.
Need to do a little more learning on it. It's since I've got into some of the other, especially the 3D printing. You know, it's all just CAD. So sometimes, you know, you kind of stay with what you're used to, and I'm used to the Carbide Create, which is a good program and does pretty much everything that I want, but I know I need to advance a little bit more. So,
okay.
There you go. Hello, Mr. Bear Pas. I'm Jamie from JP Woodwork. So, some of you may or may not know out there, You are one half of a creative power couple. So do you sometimes find yourself rushing to get tools before the wife?
No, that's actually pretty nice the way that we work together. I mean, we've been married 30 years, so it's
Congratulations.
thank you.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang. I mean, she's my best friend. All joking aside, she is my best friend, and so my shop is actually a 2-story shop. The downstairs is the wood shop, and then upstairs was supposed to be. I thought I was going to be the next Bob Ross, but and I still do it every once in a while. But we moved. She does a lot of the epoxy and tumblers and a couple of different other things like that, and so now we have most of that set up here for her epoxy, and then my 3D printing and some of the epoxy. Like if I do signs, I love to do a lot of the signs. I'll carve it on the Shapeco and then do an epoxy inlay.
Okay.
So we just hang out a lot, which is good.
There you go. And I'm sure there's no happy little tree in Texas.
Yes.
What did he say?
Bob
Happy
Bob
trees in
Ross,
Texas.
Larry. Bob Ross.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes you got to dig.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Sometimes I got a translator open down here.
So if y'all do, so Bear, you don't do this full time, correct? You have a job. So how do you find yourself trying to do the social media, make content, sell at the same time? Trying to. Sorry, my phone. It threw me off.
No worries.
Trying to balance all that and put stuff out for everybody on your page.
It can be a real challenge. I don't do this full time. I do have a daily mechanic by trade, so spend all my day there, and then anytime I can get in the shop. Part of that recently is turning the pins that I've been doing lately. Kind of goes back to what Jamie said. Do we buy a tool first? She came up and said she wanted to learn a little bit more turning. So we got this little lathe, but I've probably been using it a little bit more than her, because even on them days, when the daily's been tough, I can come out and turn a pin, and at least I've turned a pin and got a little shop time, and you get your little time away. The social media side of it has been kind of hard. This last year, I haven't done as good because Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. YouTube, is a lot of y'all that are on here knows long form YouTube's kind of hard to do. It takes a little bit more time editing. I've got ones at work that follow or subscribe on my YouTube, and they're always telling me, when you going to put out another video? When you going to put out another video? So that one's a little hard.
Yeah.
Selling stuff. I've tried. Well, year before last, I tried to do a lot of push for try to sell stuff. Got a website. Was trying to sell on Instagram and Facebook, and it really didn't take off, and I couldn't put the energy into it. So I finally backed off of, okay, I need to sell, and went back to, I'm just going to make stuff that I have fun. If somebody buys it, cool. And I've kind of enjoyed it a little bit more. Social's really hard. It's its own full-time job.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to try to do it when you when you're having a full-time job and trying to balance it out, and I mean, we all go through it. We do all these different shows, and sometimes you just have a rough time at work, and it's like you don't want to come out here, you don't want to do anything, or if you do, you don't want to turn that camera on to record. You just want to just do something and not have to worry about that. The other day I was out in the shop and doing the same thing, and I'm doing that, make what you fear challenge. And it just got to a point where I was just like, I don't want to record. And I got so much stuff done. That's the that's the hard part. If you do want to make a run at this and do it, you always have to put that camera up. You got to be mindful of it. And sometimes I'm just to the point where I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not putting the camera up. I just want to work. I want to just do what I do, and I don't want to have to worry about it, because you've had a bad day and you just don't want to deal with none of this stuff. You just want to.
Oh yeah, because I did that a lot this last year. Back in 23, there were a lot of times that I just didn't want to film it anymore. Yeah, an example is something that will take you maybe an hour to go out there, hammer something together, and oh wow, I made a box or whatever. To film that, and especially the step by steps, you're 3 hours plus, and that's just filming. Did I get the right
pretty
shot?
good.
Did I get just an example, but did I get the right angle? Is this one going to be better? Oh, should I reshoot this? Or I got tongue tied. A lot of mine I do voiceover. Yeah, I did it there a little bit.
You got tongue tied on tongue tied.
Tongue tied on tongue tied. But some of that, sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with that. You go out there and you go and you get your creative flow going, and then every once in a while you come back in there and okay, I can record this, and it's all good.
Yeah.
So that kind of segues into my next question I was going to ask you. And it was like, you and your wife do this, obviously. And I've noticed that you post in the afternoons or the late afternoons pretty consistently. So do you come home from work and make something and then make the post, or do you have a bunch, do you do a lot on the weekends and then do it? Or how does that work for you? How does your flow go?
A little bit, because of late I've tried to start doing that. I'm generally, if I say I post for a pin, that's probably 4 or 5 pins back when I'm finally doing that, putting out that video. Because I learned a couple of different times, especially when I was hitting it hard in 22, the more stuff you've already got, just say I came home today and I turned 3 or 4 pins, or did something, bandsaw, whatever. If you're ahead, it's easier to post the stuff. And I found if you're more consistent, like you said, every night I come home or before I go to bed, I start posting, okay, I'll do a short to YouTube and a short to, or a reel to Instagram, as long as you got content. But if you run out of content and you go out there and you go, oh God, I got to figure out something. I've got one video. I got one video out there on Instagram that I was kind of upset with the algorithm. And so I had a rubber banana and I was hitting a screw. And I thought, yeah, this is going to be the one that's just going to go viral. And it unfortunately didn't, but hey, it was still funny.
I did one where I scratched a 2x4 with a screw, and I was like, hey, my art videos don't do anything, but maybe this one did pretty good.
And I've learned, hitting on that, I've learned too that I keep a lot of my footage, right? And it's just, you go back to it after, a year or so, just go back to that and just kind of re-edit. You've learned new different techniques and stuff. And it's not a bad thing to go through and retouch it, the raw footage, and put it out, because you never know. It may just take off. Like I did one and it did pretty good. When I first put it on, it didn't hardly get anything. Now yes. I came back in, tweaked it a little bit, put it back out, and it's done. So it's not like you don't always have to be out there filming. You can kind of regurgitate that stuff. So keep that in mind. It's not a bad thing to do.
No, and it's not. And you can also go out there, try something new. I've got one on Instagram. I don't remember if I ever put it on YouTube. Made a sign for another maker. He'd won. I joined in part of a giveaway, and I cut out the letters on the CNC in walnut, and then the background was maple. And so then I made all the letters. I did the stop motion, because I always loved stop motion when I was a kid. So I thought, how do I do this? So I did a little research, and the video didn't do that good, but I love that video because it moves around, and then I put sound with it, and then it's got one of the letters is knocking into the other one. It did all this fun stuff. and it was a new skill that I learned. And I probably do a few more like that. Well, I have done a few with some stickers like that, but go try something. And if it doesn't do that good, oh well, you still learned something, and you had fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Here you go. Let me. Matt's up next, but I'm gonna interrupt him like Jenny interrupts me all the time.
There you go.
There you go. It's from the chat. Miss Anita Ball wants to know, what's your favorite tool to work with, a lathe, CNC, or 3D printer?
oh, now that's tough. That's
A
like
rough
choosing.
one, huh?
That's choosing between you and your favorite kid.
No, that's not hard at all.
I love them all equally.
This one.
Boy, I have a story, but I can't tell it on here. But I have one that I didn't really like one today. I can tell you that.
I would probably say first off is the CNC because I love the design side of it. And then I bought the CNC because I wanted to learn how to do all the different stuff and the cut out different things, and it'd be cool, and it saved me time because it could be off doing its thing when it's cutting, and I can go in, sand something, do whatever else in the shop. But especially when I first got it, I found that I was standing there going, "Oh, this thing's cool," and then it's done, and I'm like, "Oh, well, I didn't get anything else done," but
I get to watch it.
I think the next one would probably be now the 3D printer, is because the same aspect is that I can take and design something. Most of it's the 3D printer got it. It is more just for fun, for the coolness factor, make cool stuff. But the other day I was getting ready to do something with a lathe, and I've got a single stage Harbor Freight with a bag. Well, the coupler that I got doesn't fit over the inlet. And so I got it taped on there. Well, it got cold here and the tape gave up. And I go, man, I need to buy a coupler that actually fits this. And then I had that epiphany, that, wait a minute, I have a 3D printer. So I printed it and I made, it's an actual useful thing other than, hey, this is cool to make, but and that was still cool to make because, I solved a problem. So, and then the lathe I have fun with it because 3D printer and even the CNC, it takes up a little bit of time. You got to plan out how long you're going to carve. Lathe, I can go out there and turn for a little bit. And if I get tired, I can turn it off and go back in the house and go from there. So,
Yeah, that's the cool thing about 3D printers is, that's what got me started in my madness here. But yeah, just when you need certain things out in the shop, and I've done the same thing, even with all this junk sitting behind me, I've done the same thing. I'm like, man, I need to buy one of those, and it's like, wait a minute, I can make it. Why do I want to buy it? But it's the cool thing is that you come across things in the shop sometimes where it's like, man, I need this. And it's like, well, I've got the capability to make it. So let's figure it out. And, and that's a cool thing about 3D printers. And now with these bamboos, you can have it super quick. I mean, like boom, you go in there, design it, print it, make sure it works. And then, it's pretty cool.
As far as talking about watching it, it's supposed to work while you're working. So as far as watching it while it's working and you don't get anything done, one of the first things we did on mine was a box, and I screen shared with Joey, and we sat here for 3.5 hours and watched that thing make a box.
he was the enabler on that. It was like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna eventually get one, but I wasn't like, I was happy with my printers and everything's going fine. And then Jake gets the X1 carbon, and then we sat there and we literally sat here and watch that dang thing print.
It was awesome.
Freaking hours till it was
a good
done.
work day. It was a good work day, man.
And then when it came out, I was like, he showed me, and I was like, dude, that thing is that clean. I was I was like sold. And then it got to the point where it was like, he kept asking me every day, did you buy it yet? Did you buy it? Have you done it? And I'm like, no, Jake, not yet. And then it was like next day we'd talk, did you get it yet? Until finally, I pulled the trigger.
He's trying to label me as an instigator, but it's not true.
Yeah, an influencer.
Yeah.
that's
An
what
influencer.
Yeah, there you go.
There
I hope you
go.
spend your money.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of the same too. Is that the 3D printer I had put off on it? In fact, my oldest son, one of his friends got a new printer, and he brought one a different brand, and it sat on the kitchen table for 2 months, and I never touched it because it was a lot of, oh well, now I got to learn another program, and I'm doing all this other, and the auto level, it didn't auto level, and it's kind of involved. And then when the bamboos came out, Black Friday, I was like, and then I went out and saw Jake, and we were talking, and he showed me some of the stuff, and I'm like, yeah. And so I pulled the trigger.
Yeah. It's super fun.
Oh yeah.
So I am going to ask you about your shop. What kind of square footage is it? And then is it stick built or is it steel built? And then I noticed, I looked at it in a couple of videos that you had, and it looked like you had possible heating and air in there.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's stick built. When I had it built, part of that was I looked at both sides. It was actually cheaper for wood at the time. This is all pre-COVID to do wood, and because it was pre-COVID. Because if it had been after COVID, I'd probably be still in a little shed. But I've got 600 feet, so it's 2-story. I've got 600 down below, and for the wood shop part, and then 600 upstairs, what we call the studio for the epoxy and everything. Where's the other part?
Heating and air. So you got it insulated pretty good, especially being up there in Amarillo, being that drops down so close.
Oh yeah. Part of that came from my father-in-law. His hobby is restoring old cars, and his shop has no insulation whatsoever. So when I had the shop built and closed, and then all the inside, like the paneling you see behind me, I insulated it, did the paneling, and then did the downstairs, did the OSB, and now I'm painting it, which I wished I'd have done that before, but live and learn. But yeah, so then I got a Mystical mini split for downstairs, and it does pretty good. Even when it gets really cold here, I've got a heater upstairs, and just a faux fireplace or whatever, but heat rises and it's not that bad. It stays pretty comfortable. It's pretty much all year round. It stays about 70 degrees in the shop. So
nice.
There you go.
Very nice.
Let me I'm gonna interrupt Jamie now. Wham Designs wants to know, Jamie, is Bear Paw your long lost family member? Simply similar beards, just saying.
Good pay. Good pay.
You got to have a good beard.
You don't.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I do. So usually it used to be that it was seasonal. During the winter, I would just wear a beard. But then when I started the whole social media stuff, I had the beard, and I even had a little bit longer one. And then it got hot, and I was tired of it, and I shaved it. And you would have thought I'd broke the internet.
Yeah.
I'd got on a live, and they're like, "Who's that?
Yep.
Is that Bear?
Yeah.
Is this Bear Cub?" And they gave me all kinds of grief.
He's got a son.
Well, that was this past March we went to Workbench Con, and that was right October before that, and everybody was giving me tons of grief. And I said, fine, I'll grow the beard back before I show up Makers Workbench Con.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was weird to see you without it. It went from one day to the next, and I was like, what? Wait a minute. What happened?
So another funny thing happened with that is I shaved, and I hadn't been on Instagram yet or any of my others. And the wooden mustache Matt was in town. He's like, he came for a wedding, and he's like, who? And anyways, we got together, and I said, yeah, come on by. And he came to the door, and he's like, do I got the right house? He was unsure because I was
Yeah.
clean shaven, and then chaos ensued after that. But
Yeah, that was weird.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier on in your day job that you're a mechanic. Do you think they help having a bit of a mechanical mind when it comes to running the CNC and 3D printer and things like that?
Most definitely. So I'll drop back a little farther back. In high school, I thought I was going to be a machinist. First 3 years of high school, I was taking machine shop, learned to weld, learned to run a metal lathe and different stuff like that. So I learned a lot then, and moved forward to mechanicking because that last year I found out I got into auto mechanics and thought, this is what I want to do. This is what I should do for a living. And knowing the different things, and you kind of one, you got to be a contortionist to be a mechanic, to reach a bolt that you shouldn't physically be able to reach, but then also to have your mind to be able to think, okay, if you do this and this, how does this come apart? And it does help for planning out stuff for the woodworking and stuff like that. So yes.
It's
that
always
awesome?
helpful. Yeah. So you've been doing some resin, and how long have you been doing it? And what's your favorite part about resin pouring, resin casting?
Let's see. The first thing you would think we would have started out small. The first thing that we did was the kitchen. We were redoing the kitchen and the countertop. We looked into prices of replacing countertop and cabinets and everything else. The cabinets were still good. So I started watching a bunch of videos and found out that, you could put resin on it and do different things. And so let's jump in both feet. And so now our kitchen countertop, we did it with a copper and made it look like hammered copper. And so that was the big one we jumped in. Then she started doing the tumblers and some of the other stuff. And then when I got the CNC, I started doing the inlays. Some of my favorite are probably some of the catch-alls that I did. One that drives my oldest son, he loves puzzles, and I did a Rubik's Cube, and one side solved and then the others are not. And so every time he looks at it, he can't solve that one Rubik's Cube because he just has this urge to want to solve it, and he can't. And I go,
So you did a stained glass looking epoxy pour.
yes.
What made you think about that, and how was that process different than the normal ones?
One of the things I learned after doing it, most definitely, is don't do small. Because if you watch that video, there's a lot of different colors, and most of them are only about maybe an inch by an inch, maybe two. Go big. I found that out real good. Part of that came from when we went back in March. We went to go see some of her family, and one of the cousins that she grew up with, her cousin does stained glass. She actually does stained glass and does a lot of cool, neat stained glass. And I'm like, man, I've always wanted to do stained glass. Well, I could do epoxy. So that's how that came about.
It was awesome, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Cool.
I'll finish it one of these days. The stained glass.
We all didn't need to know that. We just,
That's
slide by,
No, the stained glass part is finished. It's going to be assigned for somebody. I just got to do the other part, and one of these days.
So I'm going to ask you a what if. What
Okay.
if you had no budget, what would be your go-to always want tool that you'd want to have?
Like no budget or
No budget,
all the budget?
Well, you'd have any kind of budget you want, whatever it is. It's just there.
Any kind of budget, just whatever. Kick
Yeah.
Jimmy DeResta out of his shop.
I guess I set that bar way up there, huh? Did you?
Yeah, well, a little bit, no, because
Well,
I
which
think-
shop? He's got 3, so which one?
whichever one's got the most stuff in it.
Yeah.
All of them.
And I don't know if endless budget, because there's 2 that are still on the want list, is 1 a drum sander and 2 a CO2 laser. The CO2 laser really is CNC. You can do a lot of things, but there's things that you could do with CO2 laser that you get there a little faster and cleaner.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe the runner up to that question was, I don't know, go down south and kick Joey out of his shop. So
It's hot down there, dude. I don't think you want to know that.
yeah,
It's hot.
We'll move it all back
And
up here.
Yeah.
And you don't have air conditioning either.
Yeah, I do. Don't start, Matt. I have them. They're in the box, but I have them.
Mhm.
Along with the insulation, it's still in the bags, but I got it.
So we've just discovered where the bear cub name came from. So whereabouts did Bear Pas come from?
That's actually a good story. So my boys, my dad growing up, I don't know how it came about, but they called him grandpas. And anyways, my dad since passed, and my youngest, I guess this was in 2019. I was changing out a ceiling fan in his room, and I was reaching out to hand him the motor, and excuse me. Anyways, I reached out and I had it in one hand and handed it over to him, and he's like, "Geez, Grandpa's had big hands. What are we going to end up having? My kids are going to have to call you Bear Paws." And so that's where Bear Paws was born. And I just did the play on it instead of PAW, just did the PA. So that's where it's grown.
There you go, and it's stuck.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's cool. Cool to know.
Yeah.
So on the YouTube side, what do you find the most difficult about YouTube? What do you find that keeps you from doing long forms more? What is it just the whole aspect of it, the cameras, all that kind of stuff? What keeps you from doing more of it?
Not really the cameras, because I kind of like that. So in high school, I guess it was my senior year, I took theater arts, and no actor am I, but I was on the technical side, setting up the sets and setting up the scenes and the getting the costumes and all that. And I found that was really neat, and the lighting. So, and I've always been a fan of movies. I love movies and that have a good cinematography to it. So for YouTube side, I've always found it interesting, okay, I'm setting up the shot and, I'm going to be the next Spielberg, blah, 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 whatever. But, and so that part I enjoy, and even kind of planning out, a little bit of a script. Like, so after I've shot all the video and I've edited it down to what I want, I still go out and, okay, I'm looking at this and I script out what I'm going to do for my voiceover. That part I enjoy. The editing.
Can you make mine?
Hey, there are people that do that for a living. So, and I kind of, I do like the voiceover part, even though, most people don't like their own voice, and I really don't, because, what you hear is not what everybody else hears, I guess, is some of that. But, and I got over that part. You put out a couple of videos and you go, oh, hey, people actually liked it, so no big deal. YouTube side, probably the is not having the time. I wished I had the time to do more videos and to do more of that style. I've been trying to think about, I watched some of them kind of like Jake does, and some that Joey does, and you just talking to the camera. and that one, you know, I got enough of a southern tongue that it gets in my way a lot.
Well,
so
it is. You have to be super lucky for it to be rewarding right away. Or you have to be super good or super lucky for it to be rewarding right away. So either, and if you're someone that needs, you know, instant gratification or whatever, then it's going to be hard. You have to have endurance. Like you really have to have endurance doing YouTube, because it's not going to come right away. And just one of those deals, if somebody's out there listening that wants to start a YouTube channel, don't expect, like, it can happen, like you do a video and it gets some views, but if more than likely it's going to have like 2 views. it's gonna be your sister and your mom.
Yeah.
But if you get 3, then you know somebody else out there that likes you.
Yeah.
And it has its own reward. Kind of onto the side of that, I've got a guy at work that he follows or subscribes to my channel, and he loves it. He's the one that hounds me, and it's kind of nice because you get the review. You know, people leaves a comment or whatever, or like we could talk on live stuff like this. But a one-on-one person in real life, and he actually finally told me at one time. He said, "I hate your shorts," and I'm like, "Why do you hate my shorts?" He said,
"Eat my shorts."
But I'm like, I was a little bit offended. I was like, "Why do you hate my shorts?" And he goes, "I don't learn anything. They're nice and everything, but I want your long form videos." He said, "Because I'm just starting out and you've got the knowledge and I want it." I was like, okay. So then I told him, I said, "At least once a year I'll put out a long form for you." So far I've stuck to that.
Yeah. You know, I find that YouTube, I've gotten very frustrated with it at times, but I still keep doing it because I like it. But I think that's in my opinion, the most gratification you can get is when you put a video out and it gets a lot of views, right? Now, for my channel, what I'm getting, I'm very happy, and that's gratifying. Do I want more? Heck yeah. I want the 50,000 or the 100,000 hitters, right? But that takes time. You got to learn it. There's a process when you're doing that. And if you really and truly want to do it, you'll work at it and try to create and get better shots and get B-roll and learn how to, you know, pronunciate things, but you know, to a point.
That's
right?
That's
to
rough.
A point. It's
one's
rough
rough.
because there's a lot of editing going on. I mean, especially for myself, because I have, you know, going back to the stuff that we talked before, there's, you know, pronunciation and a lot of uhs and you know, we'd probably have a viral video if we just put that stuff in there and did a bloopers deal, you know.
Yeah.
I've thought about that. I've seen a lot that have done the bloopers, but yeah, if I could just edit some of the stuff that is more appropriate, because unfortunately a lot of times if you're on the 17th take of trying to say the next word is probably not very appropriate.
So you know, just to let you know, with the most recent video I put out was just that shop update, and you know, I filmed everything, and I have a monitor on the camera, but my eyesight's pretty bad. So I mean, I can tell that I'm in focus and in screen till I brought it in here and I started looking at it, and you know, and I'm gonna say just because it is what it is. But at one point, my shirt's hiked up, and you could see my gut hanging out. And then I turn around,
in
and
my belly.
Yeah, you can see my love in here, you know. And then other points, it's like you don't realize that. And I had to just scrap everything. I scrapped the entire thing and went and shot it again. And that's like, there's things that people don't see what happens, you know, and those are things that you don't pay attention to when you're doing it. And when you're doing that type of video, your whole body's in focus, and it's easier if you had somebody that was there and say, "Hey, you need to, you know, fix yourself or do this stuff." You know what I mean? And
are you trying to get that good shot that's right
unless
there?
You have, unless you have Jake. Yeah, unless you have Jake or Jamie, they're just gonna let you just like.
No. I'm about to say Jackie's out in the chat, but she'll be filming me, and I'll go back and look at it. And I'll say, "Man, this was happening. Why'd you do this?" She goes, "Yeah, I saw it the whole time."
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing? But speaking about rewards and stuff, like you might not get, my channel doesn't get a lot of views or whatever, but the reward is earlier in the chat, Leah said that the technique that we teach every Saturday on there, she's going to be using that on some projects she's doing this weekend. So that stuff right there is the reward. One person saying, "Hey, I learned this from you and it saved me," or you did a review on a product and they go, "Hey, thanks for saving me the money." Because I don't save the money because I have to mess up 5 times before I can make a video about something that works.
Oh yeah. Probably the coolest one that I had for a YouTube side was, it's my most popular video, is the folding table that we use for markets. She had found it on Pinterest, and so I went to go see if there was a video so I could figure out how to build it, and there wasn't. There were little clippets and everything else, so I figured out how to make it, and it's out there and it's making videos. And I finally had a guy that found me and messaged me and wanted to know where I was getting the hinges, because they're a special hinge. They're a 270-degree hinge, and I'm like, because he said he really wanted to make it, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, so I'll send you the Amazon link. And I said, I think it's really cool. If you make it, send me pictures. And I thought, okay, I'll never hear from the guy again. Well, he went and made it, and he sent me pictures, and he said, like, "Man, this was the best. Thank you." And my wife's happy. And I'm like, that is really, really cool. Because that's what I'd started the YouTube for, was I make things, or there was something that I wanted to make and there's not a video out there, or maybe somebody doesn't have the knowledge. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll go share the knowledge. But then also, that takes a little bit to, like you said, it's a process. Okay. Well, you watch some of the first videos and I'm like, oh God, but you got to have the bad to have the good. So,
oh yeah. Yeah. And I go back to him and I'm like, geez, what was I thinking when I shot that? Knowing now what I know, but I'll never take those off. Those are going to stay there. That's you can always revert back to that and just see how you've made drastic improvements over that. And then getting to know other people, like, getting to know Jake, Matt, Jamie, everybody, and everybody's got little tidbits of stuff that they can show you or give you advice and say, hey, do this different, do this, put some B-roll here or et cetera, and you learn and you
tuck your shirt in.
Yeah. Tuck my shirt in. So it's cool to watch what where I'm at now versus when I started 3 years ago or whenever it was. Who knows, this craziness, but
it's just like the progression. When you first started out, and most people start out when they're woodworking, they're dealing with dimensional lumber. You're making stuff out of 2x4s, and hey, look, I made a bench or I made a table. Let's put it in the kitchen. And the wife's kind of like, oh, maybe not, but and then you move on from there, and you're starting to work with hardwoods, and your craft gets better as you go. Same thing on social media. The first thing that for YouTube, and we had an old DSLR camera that wasn't worth nothing, and it's kind of grainy. And so after that, I knew I needed to get a little bit better. And I actually went to, didn't have the money and didn't know if I wanted to invest a whole lot of money in it. So I went to pawn shops and found a couple of better cameras and started, you just kind of grow from there. You start off with, woodworking, you've got a jigsaw and a skill saw, and that's all you got. And then eventually, you fall down the rabbit hole, and you've got a shop full of tools, and
yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
Deep
where all your money goes.
Real deep.
Real deep.
All right. So you said you went to Workbench Con. For somebody that's never been at an event like that, can you tell them the best thing and the worst thing about them?
So
who did you meet that was just horrible? I'm just kidding.
Actually, honestly, that's something about this community, the Instagram, the woodworking community as a whole. The best way to describe the conference was it was like a family reunion, but you got to pick the people that were at the family. You got to pick the family because it was the classes were great and they were awesome. And I learned some different stuff for like the social media side, but it was the interactions in between and interacting with some of the vendors that were there, and the conversations was probably the best part.
Cool.
And then there's another one coming up here in October, and hopefully I'll meet somebody from down south. And so we'll go to it, and it's a different type of deal. It's more of a hands-on. So I'll have to tell you later how it is.
Yeah, that's gonna be super cool if we can get up there. Never been up in that neck of the woods, so it ought to be pretty cool.
Yes,
literally. I better pack my jacket.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get used to the cold up there.
Maybe I'll just eat a little more, get some more liner put on here.
Hey, hug for Bear Paw.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Dude, that's 3 strikes already, Jamie.
Yeah.
You're out of there.
You're definitely going.
I think I know which question's coming.
But I think
I'm
you're
ready.
gonna have to go to HR.
So, you've talked about the cameras and what you've used on that, and I mean, I started out with cameras hanging all over the place and wires all over, and you had to kind of step through stuff. And then I got into the video editing software that I couldn't understand, and Jake had to set me straight and get me on a better audio. What do you use for your video editing software?
Dang, it totally went out of my mind right then, just there.
I hate that.
Yeah, I think
because now all I can think is DaVinci Resolve, but that's not the one I use. I honestly
Filmora.
No,
Adobe Create or
no, it's something with a V.
With the V.
Video editor.
Vegetables.
We'll go with that one.
Perfect.
Heck yeah. I know that one.
Vampires.
Yeah, there you go. But they're all kind of similar. It's one of the free versions. And that's a whole nother thing that you have to learn too. Whether you're using Filmora or DaVinci Resolve, whichever, it's a whole new process. But
it's an art form all in itself.
It's like the old saying, how do you eat an entire elephant?
One
bite at a time. It's the same thing for video, for social media, for woodworking and life in general. You take it one step at a time. Don't because if you start thinking about all that you got to do, you'll get yourself overwhelmed. So one step at a time. And I'll remember here about 3:00 at night what that video editing is.
Yeah, he'll send a message. He'll send a DM. I got it.
It's too late now, dude. Put it in the comments.
That's right.
All right. So you do a lot of signs with various different themes, from comic books and animals. Do you have a favorite theme of a sign that you like to make?
Yeah and no. Probably some of the more smart aleck ones. One of the ones we used to do a community market, and one of the signs I had talks about, I'm a woman who watches crime scene shows. Don't mess with me. I can't remember the exact saying, and it set up there every time I put it out, and a lot of women would walk by, or the husband would go, "That's you, isn't it?" And they'd laugh and they wouldn't buy it. And I kept waiting until I finally, and this one woman read it. She walked by, she read it, she thought it was funny. She came back, and then her husband came by and she showed her husband. They went on, they came back, and she goes, "I want that sign." So that one was kind of cool. Something that makes somebody happy. I guess that's my happiest part of the sign making.
So I usually don't bring this up because it always gets everybody into a ruckus over this. But
Oh, no.
you were one of the few that tried it. So give me your honest opinion about ketchup on tamales.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wow, we're hitting in-depth questions here.
Yeah,
That's journalism right there.
I want to hear it live.
Come on now.
So okay, so you've drove the internet crazy with this, the ketchup on tamales. I'm going to make them more. I'm going to make them even more mad. I don't like tamales. I have not liked tamales. Did not like tamales, but I thought I will try it. Joey's been going on about it. I've come around a little more tamales. Ketchup on tamales wins.
Ketchup made you like tamales.
Ketchup made me like tamales.
That's what I'm talking about. That's a win, Joey.
There you go. There you go.
All right, we got time for a speed round here, buddy. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. It didn't matter what you said. We're going to do it anyway. All right. So, on your videos, you say, "Hello, fantabulous people." Where'd that come from?
I've probably said that off and on all my life. And I thought, all the people out there that watch my videos, I think they're fantastic that they watch it. And so I wanted something different. And it's one of those grab somebody's attention. So they're my fantabulous people.
Yeah. So if you go to your page and scroll and just listen to the first 3 seconds, "Hello, fantabulous people. Hello, fantabulous people." So I was like, "Hey, that's a good question."
And I hope it makes somebody smile. If you can make somebody smile during the day, you've done good that day.
There you go. Mm-hmm. So you talked about, you're doing this stuff for other people can learn. If you had to tell somebody that's starting off, what to start off with, what would you tell them?
Go out there and don't worry about making a mistake. And don't worry that it's not going to be perfectly. You're building a table or something. By no means don't go out and buy, thousands and thousands of dollars of wood. Go out there and start something simple. And if it's a doghouse and it kind of leans to one side and the roof leaks or whatever, you still built it. You put your hands on it, you learn from it, and then go back and redo it and keep doing it. And as you go, you're going to get better. So
you have a leaky roof or a leaky dog.
And then have kids teach them to sand, so you ain't got to sand no more. There you go.
Yeah, that is a bonus. Anybody that ever wants to come to the shop and sand, they are more than welcome.
There you go.
There you go. All right. So you've done a few craft fairs. Have you got any advice for anyone that may be thinking of doing their first one?
Have fun and know that people are going to be rude, but have a thick skin, and you'll get a lot of those that say, well, if I had all that stuff, I could make it, or I could make it cheaper, blah, blah. You go, oh, okay. Well, here it is. If you want to buy it, you go ahead. And then you get them other ones. Cool thing about a craft fair, not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before that, we did one way up north. Didn't do that great. It wasn't that great of a craft fair, but a year later, the woman, she didn't have my card. She was trying to find a gift, and her husband was a firefighter, and they do this kind of gift exchange deal. She tracked me down through her. She went back into her banking account and found where it still had my name as the transaction. And then she went through the social medias and found it. And she said, I know it's right before Christmas, but can you make me? And I said, sure. And it's on my, it should be on the YouTubes and for the Instagram. It's a flag with the firefighter is in the foreground, the back of him. But with that, I learned a new technique for spray paint it to make it look like fire, and using a paper bag to make look like it's the fire's going. And she absolutely loved it. She oohed and awed, and she even gave me a tip. And that's the cool part. It wasn't the money side of it. It was the fact that she tracked me down and wanted me to make something for her. And That's
Yeah.
priceless.
And that's why they're still
nice.
married, is because he knows he can't leave because she'll track him down.
That's right. Exactly.
That too.
Oh yeah.
If you were able to beat anybody, it don't have to be in the maker community, just anybody, who would it be?
Morgan Freeman.
Mm.
Morgan Freeman.
Cool.
That's what I'm talking about.
I've talked, I've heard different things from him. Second one would probably be Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
I like Keanu Reeves.
I've heard both good things about them as far as celebrities. If we go, I don't know.
Maker community.
Maker community. I've met quite a few. I don't know. Let's see. Out of this panel, I've met one, so maybe the other three.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
No,
Hey, you guys all right?
I'm pretty famous.
yeah, pretty famous. I don't know. You know, it's kind of hard to say who I would like to meet. Through history, there's a lot of others that I like to meet. Nicholas Tesla, I think, would be kind of neat, just because he's got that maker mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
there's
All
your
right.
nerdy part.
All right, Bear, as we're going to close out here, and why don't you give us anything that might be coming up? All your links are down below in the description. If y'all want to go check out Bear and follow him, I highly suggest you do that. And just give us what's coming up, anything new, and we'll get on out of here.
Okay. Next thing new is I'll probably start posting some stuff for the 3D printer. After that, maybe the silicone molds. And yeah, I think that's about it for right now. That's coming up soon.
Cool.
All right, Matthew. Other Matthew.
I just got done doing I was organizing the shop, and when you get into organization, you realize that you need more organization. So I built a cabinet based off from Joey's design and kind of made it bigger so that my wife could store all of her pen stuff, and got that. It's spray painted right now, and then I'm going to put some handles on it and slot it into place. So it should be good to go. And then I'm going to continue organizing the shop.
There you go.
Cool.
Jamie.
Just put out a video of a walnut and maple barrel drum kit. So just getting back into the shop and doing another project. So
Awesome project, by the way.
thank you.
So we got cartoons going on Saturday. We've raised almost $4,000. So this Saturday is going to be a Q&A and then some auctions. So we're going to have the regular big auctions we do, and then I'm making some grab bags or mystery boxes or whatever that are going to be a little bit smaller so everybody can be involved. And that's all we're doing. We're going to do a Q&A, raise some money, and then we'll see you on Wednesday.
There you go. I'm continuing on in the office here doing that renovation out where I'm extending the office. So that's really what I got going. I've got a couple of videos that I need to shoot so I can put out on YouTube. I think it'd be pretty cool. So other than that, that's what we're doing. I'm tearing up stuff and making a mess. There you go. Breaking? What? Oh,
Huh?
I thought you said something. Anyways, next week on the show, we got Mr. Mustache is gonna make his appearance.
Hey,
We mustache him.
The
in
other
questions.
Matt.
the other
The
Matt.
other man.
The other Matt.
Yeah.
The other
The
Matt.
other Matt.
Yeah, there's too many of them.
Mustachio.
Anyhow, remember, folks, please go to Apple Podcast, iTunes, and give us a review. 10. We need 10 stars.
10 stars.
Please, that'll help us rank us. And if you would be so kindly to do that, if you are on the Apple platform, because some people aren't, but if you would you be so kindly to do that? And anyhow,
Also
till next
leave
week.
a review for it, please. Please leave.
Oh
a
yeah,
review.
yeah. Make
Say
sure you
something.
leave a review on there. That helps us out. We need to try to make a
Mhm.
bigger push to try to get us ranked in there, and we would greatly appreciate it. But anyhow, till next week. Thanks everybody who hung out with us tonight. Thank you, Bear Paul, for coming out and taking time and being with us. And
Thanks
we'll
for
see
having
y'all.
me.
Yep, you're welcome. Next week, same time, same place, same beautiful faces, and Jenny will be here. Yeah,
The beautiful face will be
Beautiful
back.
face of it
Yeah,
all.
the beautiful face
The
will be
movie
back.
star. The movie star.
The
Yeah.
movie star. Anyhow,
Yeah.
we're out of here, guys. Y'all have a great week.